Okay, here we go. We're starting up with me, so if you come in, I'll let you in, okay? All right, everyone. Hey, this is James Donaldson coming to you live from Standing Above the Crowd podcast at Rainier Avenue Radio, right in the heart of Seattle, Central Seattle. And I'm so happy to be part of this platform and so happy that they gave me the opportunity to be part of this platform to continue spreading the work that I do, the word on mental health awareness and suicide prevention. Next month, September, is National Suicide Prevention Month. So the whole month we'll be talking a lot more about mental health than we do in the past. And we're still trying to get my guest on. So I'm going to check every now and then to make sure that, to see if he's logged in the back room or not. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead with the show and get started here. So again, James Donaldson. And I am also the executive director for Your Gift of Life Foundation. And you can find that at yourgiftoflife.org. So go check out the great work that I've been doing over the years, all these wonderful resources that we have about mental health, and just really trying to be there for everyone who might come across some type of mental health challenge, mental health crises. It's a epidemic. It's the next pandemic in our country right now. They mentioned that along with suicidal ideations, loneliness is the number one mental health crisis in our country. And get that, here we are more connected than ever before with phones and tablets and internet and social media and everything else. All of us have hundreds and hundreds of friends on social media platforms, but yet we're more lonely than ever before. Us humans are social creatures. We need to be with each other. We need to interact with each other, but yet we're getting away from that. And so I want to always encourage you to take a moment to find somebody to sit down with every week, a couple times a week, and just really, have a heart-to-heart with them. Look them in the eye, talk with them, share with them what you're going through, ask them what they're going through and how you could be of help to them as well and be of service for them. Because mental health is one of those things that you just don't know that you're going through it unless somebody tells you that. And so that's just the way it is. And, it's really a tough thing. I have a guest I want to bring in today, though, who's a dear friend of mine. And we actually used to be co-workers back in the day with the Donaldson Clinic. This guy, his name is Chuck Wright, and he's a licensed mental health professional. Been around a long time doing this kind of work. And I really want to have him add a lot to our conversation today about what mental health is all about, how we can shore our mental health status up to a more healthy level and be able to get through the crises that we're going to go through from time to time. Do we have Chuck ready to come on board?
I'm here, right. James.
Hey,
good to see you again.
There we are. There's Chuck. All right, Chuck. Hey, man, good to see you again. And, I was just telling the audience that we've been friends for a good 20, almost 30 years, I would think now. Going back to our days with the Donaldson Clinic, which was the physical therapy outpatient business I ran for almost 30 years. And what was unique about that model that we had, and you were a big part of this, Chuck, was that we had not only outpatient physical therapy and orthopedic physical therapy, but we had massage therapy and hand therapy and speech therapy and occupational therapy, geriatric therapy. And Chuck came in really handy as far as providing mental health therapy for some of our patients. You look like you're frozen. Okay, you're good to go. Okay. And so I was just saying, Chuck came in and provided mental health therapy. Chuck, why don't you give the audience a little bit about your background. I mean, you've been at this for 40 years, 50 years, maybe. And, some of what you've accomplished, what your licenses and certifications are, and introduce yourself to our audience, Chuck.
Okay, it's nice to be on your worldwide show.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Over the 20 years that we've been meeting for coffee and oil, you and I did a lot of bantering back and forth about issues. Some we agree with, some of them okay, and some of them we don't agree with. And after a lot of those, you and I would talk about, it'd been interesting if you and I were in a circle of students and let them hear us banter back and forth to get your views and my views. And hopefully, like you and I do, we walk away with questions they ask and discussion. And I hope that's what we get out of today.
Yeah, I know I do. Yes.
To introduce myself, I guess it's socially acceptable to brag. So I'll take a few minutes here to brag, okay?
You go.
Okay. I got my undergraduate from Portland State University in Oregon, and not Maine. And in sociology, after I graduated, I was offered a job with the state of Washington as a probation pro officer. And during that time, I became very interested in violence for some reason, and I started specializing more in violent felons. And then I gravitated to sexual deviancy and sexual psychopathy as a real interest for me. And I wanted to get a higher education, master's degree. So in those days, we didn't have a computer, so I went to what they call a Cardex.
Okay.
To find out all the universities in the United States or Canada that offer some training in human sexuality.
All right.
And New York University was the only one. And so I didn't know it was a private school at the time. I didn't know it was a prestigious one. Otherwise, I would have never signed up for it. So anyway, I applied, and I was one of the few that was accepted. I went there, got my education in sexual psychopathy, although my degree is in education. And my mother would brag about me being having a master's degree, but she never ever tell anybody what my degree was in.
Okay.
Anyway, I came back to the state and started seeing more and more about sexual offenders. And the more I saw, the more I was asked to start speaking to them. Seattle University had an opening for an adjunct in law and justice. And so they asked me to apply there, and which I did, and I got the job. And for 20 years, I was an adjunct there in criminal justice, teaching sexual psychopathy, violent offenders, interviewing techniques, the criminal mind, blah, blah, blah. Then I was asked to see Central Washington University out of Linwood asked me to be an adjunct there too, so I went there. Then I started being trained by the FBI and the ATF to be a profiler. And unlucky or lucky, what happened was Seattle had a lot of serial killers. And I was asked to be on two internationally known serial killer task forces. Served in that. I was asked to lecture at the FBI Academy because of my training as a profile and being served on task forces. And so I went back and lectured to 10 special agents who were specializing in child abduction and serial killer task forces. and I went there to talk about the use of mental health people on task forces. Mental health people and law enforcement is one step above defense attorneys. So they don't like that. And so you usually say, went there as a person to talk about a person with person skills on task forces.
There we go.
And I talked to them about we need mental health people to work with not only investigators, but the family members, because we lose a lot of investigators having to do with the trauma being on task forces. That's not on television when they talk about serial killers and task forces. And one of the reasons we do is because they don't have anybody to talk to, and the families are left out of this.
And let me ask, Chuck, are you losing them to suicide or just burnout, or what's going on with them?
Very mental problems.
Such as what?
They're home when they go home, their body goes home, but their mind's not. It's always on. Damn, I wish. What did I miss? Somebody else is killed because I screwed up. I didn't find this thing. Well, the family sees the body, but the mind's not there, and then there's a real wall of communication goes up. And what we need to do is when we come home, police officers, for any reason, and they have a traumatic day, is don't just go home and your wife asks you or your significant other, how you doing? Fine. Well, your body language is saying, no, I'm not fine. I'm really screwed up. But, and so what we need to do is you're pushing your significant other away, which is a major resource for you.
Yeah.
Because she sees or he sees that you are in trauma. You are really mentally not here. And what we need to do is go home and reinforce, yes, what you're seeing, my body language, you're seeing that I have some major trauma right now. That brings them into the picture. It's also reinforced, yes, you do see what I'm feeling.
Yes.
And then we say, let them know. And they don't have to hear the gore that we see and smell and taste. They don't need that. All they need to know is, yes, what you're seeing is true. I had a crappy day, but with your help and other people, I will get better. Now, by saying that, they become part of the team.
Okay. And what kind of help can a significant other offer someone who's gone through that traumatic experience? What type of help can they offer?
First of all, is it takes the tension away that your body is not just there, your mind is with it too. So it's that. And they realize that they don't have to say anything per se, just their body and their active listening. There's somebody who cares.
Okay.
Because as you know, James, when you're in trauma, you don't want people telling you advice, well, do this, do that. In fact, when you interview somebody and your significant, you use open-ended questions. Like, well, how's your day? Fine. Well, what specifically can you share that happened to you today, Chuck? Now that's open-ended question. And the more they do that, and they listen rather than speak, and that's why some people say God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Yeah. The more we keep our mouth shut and let them talk, the better the interaction goes, and that helps greatly, as you know.
That's right. Wow, that's
therapy.
great.
talk therapy is very effective. In fact, from a mental health point of view, as a counselor, I say, well, for me, listening is the best therapy.
Yeah.
It's talk therapy for them. So, so
Let
those
me,
are
good. Let me say we're already halfway through our show. I know we were worried about how to fill up, so let's fast forward ahead. About how many years? How many years has your career covered now? I know it's been decades.
about 50 years, James.
Wow, is that
Yeah.
you're still a practicing licensed therapist now, aren't you?
Yes, I'm a licensed through the state of Washington. Yes. Yeah. And my clientele are only first responders and ER personnel, doctors and nurses, search and rescue and volunteer search and rescue and fire. That's the only people I see today.
Wow,
Because I walked in their shoes and they walked in my shoes. I know the trauma they went through.
That must be fascinating. It must be fascinating. I mean, I basically talk about general mental health awareness and, in general for the general populace. But those first responders, those police officers and firefighters and those folks on the front lines, I mean, that must be a whole nother level of trauma and things that they go through.
James, what they and I saw doesn't need to be repeated. It's not just right after I retired in '99. I became involved with a nonprofit organization, the National Trauma. And so literally after 9/11, when the plane started flying again, the next day they had me on the plane going to Pentagon for 30 days.
Wow.
And that was working with the officers that were finding body parts, personal letters, rings, and all. And I worked with them, and they worked with me for over 30 days. And I worked with the family members. I worked with victims that were in the hospital, on burn clinic. And that was where my education went. I could put my degree away. That was my university.
Yeah.
And then from there, they sent me 2 weeks later up to New York, and I worked in New York, and that was good for me because I gave back to the community that trained me.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Wow.
And then I went on to Katrina, mass shootings in schools, and blah blah blah. But
wow. Well, I mean, my audience and you know my story very well, and what I've gone through with mental challenges, and hopefully coming out on top of it on the other side now and feeling much better about things. But my two sweet spots are working with our young children and with men. Two totally different demographics of things and different issues that they deal with. You deal, I'm sure, a lot of your first responders must be majority men, I would think. What is it that we can do to encourage more men to reach out for help with mental health resources that are right there ready for them?
First of all, you have to get out there and work. With me, I being within law enforcement, ride-alongs, you get your name on. Hey, this guy you can trust. You can keep his mouth shut. Okay, and I don't have to explain. Well, I went on a DV. What's a DV? Well, a domestic violence. I don't have to. So you have to get into the culture you want to work with, learn their culture, learn their abbreviations and all. That opens the door greatly. Big problems we're having, we need to do more and more to get the African Americans into licensed mental health people, because we don't have that. And that when I talk to black, sure I can talk to them, but it's not like you talking to another black. What we need to do is open more doors.
Yes. It's that cultural separation between communities of color and looking across to the professional folks in mental health and seeing there's not many people of color in that profession. And so we naturally just don't feel comfortable sitting there and putting everything out in front of them. It's just one of those things we have to overcome. I mean, that's part of my foundation, is trying to find scholarship monies, raising scholarship monies to get more students of color into the pipeline, especially men of color going into the mental health profession, so they can go back to their communities and provide these wonderful resources that we all need. So, we're both doing a lot of great work in this area. And but you're right. As far as that potential person who needs to talk, identifying, I mean, I put the call out over the last couple of years for men to call me personally. And invariably, 90% of them are African-American. About 100% of them are former athletes. And they just want, and they see me and they say, wow, James was in my shoes. He knows what I'm going through and he'll understand. So you're so right.
You're the same principle that I can relate to the police officer, because I talk you the same way you can talk to a sports person, because you know what's behind the closed doors.
That's right. That's so true. So true. To open the show before you got on, I was talking about how loneliness is now our number one mental health crisis, I guess you can call it. The U.S. Surgeon General came out with a big report a couple of years ago and stated that in a big, thorough report. What do you see with loneliness and social media and phones and all these things that have really been part of our culture the last 10, 15 years? How is that impacting the mental health of people in general?
One of the big problems there is the loneliness. Is a lot of it's based on people don't care. That's the attitude. People don't care. And if I do open up to you, James, can I trust you to keep your mouth shut? No, I can't do that.
Okay.
That's the big problem that leads to loneliness. Who am I going to talk to? The computer. I can talk to the computer. I can talk to somebody to the porno places. But I don't have to think about, can I trust them? So I think the trust issue leads a lot to the loneliness.
Yeah, I can see that. And working with young people like I do, there's new statistics out that show that our young people, school-age kids, middle school, high school, are spending up to 12 hours a day on social media platforms. There's only 24 hours in a day. I mean, 12 hours a day. And how in the world are they going to build these socio-personal skills that they need to get along with each other as they get older? This is the big question is out there still, and how to resolve that. We just don't know.
Well, listening to you talk about this, and just watching them, I think the first thing in the morning, James, they quote light up. It's not a cigarette this time, but they're lighting up, and all day long. I was at a restaurant about 2-3 weeks ago, and 3 young girls were in there, and they're looking at, and one finally looks at the other one and says, "I don't understand what you're saying here."
No.
And then she, rather than to respond, she again just, okay.
They're texting.
It's just a habit.
Yeah.
And maybe getting rid of those in schools is a dang good idea.
Yeah. Well, a book I often recommend is The Anxious Generation. It's a fantastic book that came out last year about the advent of social media back in 2009 when the smartphone came out. So now all these kids, 2009 to now, are 14, 15, 16 years old. They all grew up with this in their crib. This is all they know. And they don't, when we were kids, we had actual real personal friendships with the boy next door, the boy down the street, riding our bikes, going fishing, going camping. Kids don't do that anymore. Yeah. So it's going to be a big problem as we get older.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Another thing that you and I talk about a lot is our political and cultural and racial issues in this country. And, we get some good conversations going. But our country now is so divided, politically, socially, class-wise, racial-wise. Do you see this? Is this having an impact on people in general, or are we going to be able to get over this and get back together again and all get along pretty well?
I think what's going to have to happen, which is crappy, is we're going to have a war. Because wars bring us together.
Wow.
Yeah. And another thing it does is what it's happening, because I have some officers that I see are really Trumpers. I mean, Trump, and they talk to me about it because, number one, I'm not going to say, geez, you're wrong and all. But also, they learn what not to say. And I guess we have to learn more on learning what not to say.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we got a ways to go, and it's just so unfortunate that so many of us are really affected by this stuff. I mean, I have to just turn the TV off sometimes to get away from it and just go do something different. But Chuck, in wrapping, any final thoughts to our audience of how they can maintain a good mental health overall? You got a good 20, 30 seconds to wrap up and we can get going.
Yep. What I ask officers when I see them is, tell me what your normal resources are. Give me 5 resources you do. I fish, I play the piano, I play pickleball, I read. Okay. What happens is you lose one of them. Okay. And that's all right. 2 of them, 3 of them, you're in your yellow light. The red light's going to go on. So look at your resources.
Yeah.
If you haven't done them in weeks or months and all, that's a yellow light.
Yeah.
Get those resources. Get that piano out again that you just love playing.
All right.
Stay away when you're depressed. Stay away from country western music.
All right. Well, hey, Chuck, this has been wonderful. I got to sign off, but hey, thank you so much for coming on, being part of our show. A lot of great insight. Chuck Wright, everyone. This is James Donaldson signing off. Standing above the crowd. We'll see you next week, 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Have a great week.